So it gives me great pleasure then to welcome Maulana Sayyid Aftab Hayder to speak to us this evening.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين أما بعد. Respected Imam Rashid Umar, shukran for your kind words and introduction, and also shukran for the Claremont Main Road Masjid's committee to offer me this opportunity to share with you tonight few minutes inshallah on this very important and crucial topic of xenophobia. Yes, indeed, as Imam Rashid mentioned, a couple of years when this ugly phenomena appeared in our society and really become a very dark spot in the modern history of South Africa, which is known for tolerance, respect, understanding, accommodating each other. But unfortunately, what happened really brought a group of religious leaders together to look at this issue from theological and ideological point of view. In other words, to address this issue from our purely religious ideological aspect and classic text, and re-examine that from where this disease comes and how this disease is fed from certain quarters, unfortunately even sometimes so-called religious texts and so on. Was really a very successful and beautiful conference, and what I would like to, quite a bit of you, a lot of you I think participated also. But what was really beautiful was just to organize that conference was itself an experience, and of course Imam Rashid Umar played very, very crucial role along with Father John Oliver from Anglican Church. You know very well, you know him and you are familiar with him. Very, very crucial role. And again Father Christopher Lucy from Catholic Church. And we went through almost more than 3 months or 4 months, something like that, over a long period of time to prepare academically for this conference. And those discussions every month, in fact, were really very, very important and interesting discussions. And I would like to take it from there a little bit tonight. That why xenophobia? Why people react toward so-called other or a stranger or outsider or foreigner, somebody who is not one of us in this manner. That was the whole, of course, discussion. And we came to a point where we said that there is something called fear of ghayr, what we call it in Arabic, or fear of other, or fear of stranger. That's always something underlying. And this fear sometimes reaches to the point where we feel threatened now on different levels, on, social levels, or economical level, financial level, or whatever. We believe that someone who is not one of us, threatening us, challenging our existence, challenging our financial resources, challenging our ideological positions, challenging our social control over the society, or whatever. And out of this fear, we react, or people react. And therefore this fear should be addressed. This other should be redefined or should be looked upon. What is this other? Now naturally I am not now going to the discussion of conference where of course it was an interfaith approach, Christian and Islamic approach together. But here, of course, in Masjid and Ramazan and after Taraweeh, I would like to just take you a little bit toward Islamic approach, of course, and specifically a Quranic approach. What really Islamic approach is toward outsiders, or one we call them non-Muslims, or people who are out of our circle. Now this outsider or foreigner or whatever you want to call other can be defined in different ways. Sometimes we regard other who is not part of our ethnic community, or issue is color of skin, or issue is, for example, race, or issues, for example, background, rich or poor, and things like that. I don't think we have any discussion there that Islam, of course, Islam's approach toward these type of discriminations is very clear. Nobody, I think, disagrees or debates about it. Very clear. That, of course, Islam stands very firmly against racism. Islam does not believe, basically, that national identity is a criteria for virtue or priority. Islam does not believe, of course, financial status or anything of this sort as a criteria or any type of discrimination. So that is now, there is absolutely, of course, no doubt. And history of Islam itself is in front of us. Experience of the Prophet ﷺ and early history of Islam is really a very beautiful example. I don't think any other religion can really present a beautiful model of non-racist society purely based upon human honor and ikram, what we call it. And Quran establishes that principle very, very clearly. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. And we have indeed honored children of Adam, which is a very broad principle, karamat, or dignity of human being, and insan as insan. There is absolutely, of course, no doubt about that particular issue. In principle, from ideological point of view. But yes, indeed, we cannot also deny that Islam, when it comes to people who are different based upon aqidah or faith or ideology, naturally, it's very clear again that Islam has a different approach toward them. We cannot deny that reality and that truth. Quranic verses, prophetic hadiths, overwhelming number of them are very clear that there is a circle called Ummah or Muslim community, or people who follow the faith of Islam and deen of Islam. And then, of course, there are people who are outside this circle. Islam, of course, treats them differently. I am not saying discriminatorily, but differently. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But this difference, when I say that we treat them differently, this requires a little bit understanding. I am not going now in great detail of this discussion, but I would like to draw your attention to one important concept in Quran which is normally ignored or not understood properly or comprehensively, and that is concept of wilayat in Quran. Concept of wilayat in Quran. Quran has spoken about this issue of wali, wilayat, over 130 times. Sometimes by saying that Allah is wali, sometimes saying that mu'mineen are awliya, sometimes saying Allah and Allah's Rasul is wali. There are particular group of people, they are wali. Then sometimes saying that mu'mineen are wali of each other, they are awliya of each other. Sometimes saying that, for example, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu minkum. and sometimes even establishing the same relationship of wilayat between kuffar. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ, for example. Now, as I said, this is a very detailed discussion, but I think really the key lies there, the whole issue lies there. The Quran very clearly establishes that wali of mu'mineen is Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هُنَالِكَ الْوَلَايَةُ لِلَّهِ الْحَقِّ. Indeed, walayat. Now what is the meaning of wilayat? Again, I am not going in those discussions. It comes from word wali, which means close, which means proximity, but it goes further to love and friendship, then it goes further to support and nusrat, and then it goes further to influence, and then it goes further to authority, and it becomes a command or authority. So when we speak about wilayat of Allah, we basically speak about authority of Allah over believers and over the people as whole. And same wilayat, Quran speaks about different people right through in the different chapters of Quran. Now what is the point I am trying to make here is this, that this is a very special type of relationship by the name of wilayat, which Quran speaks about it. Quran wants to say to the people that you have only wilayat of Allah, and then you can have wilayat of those who are receiving this authority from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you as believers can have wilayat with each other. But there is no wilayat between you and others. Others means again those who are out of the circle of Islam. Those who are not Muslims, those who are not in this circle, they don't have this relationship with us, which we call it wilayat. Now verses after verses, and especially I would like to draw your attention to Surah Mubarakah Mumtahina, where Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala very clearly speaks about this issue. Ya ayyuhalladhina, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidhu aduwwi wa aduwwakum awliya tulquna ilayhim bil mawadda wa qad kafaru bima ja'akum min al haqq yukhrijuna ar-rasul wa iyyakum an tu'minu billahi rabbakum in kuntum kharajtum jihadan fi sabili ibtigha'a maradati tusirruna ilayhim bil mawadda wa ana a'lamu bima akhfaytum wa ma 'alantum wa man yaf'alu minkum faqad dhalla sawa'a as-sabil. Now again, without giving full translation of this verse, very clearly, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, all those people who believe, la tattakhidhu aduwwi wa aduwwakum awliya. Don't make my enemy and your enemies as your awliya. And I'm deliberately not translating friend. I don't agree translation of wali and awliya means friend. No, it's not an issue of friendship. It's an issue of wilayat. It's a different level of friendship. It's a different level of relationship. And why I am saying that, and this is the problem where when it comes to us and we act in xenophobic manner toward others and toward strangers. Because indeed Quran's point is very clear that we cannot have wilayat with non-Muslims. We cannot have this committed, deep relationship which brings authority, which brings certain type of influence. That relationship between us and kuffar is not possible. But it does not mean that we cannot have any other relationship with them, or we should look upon them from the angle of hate and from the angle and aspect of contempt toward them. In the same surah, Surah Mubarakah Mumtahina, further down, this point is very clearly explained, where it says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, إنما ينهاكم الله عن الذين قاتلوكم في الدين وأخرجوكم من دياركم وظاهروا على إخراجكم أن تولوهم وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. And the verse before that, لَا يَنْهَاكُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah does not stop you. الَّذِينَ لَمْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ, those who do not fight with you, those who are not in a state of war with you in your deen. وَلَمْ يُخْرِجُوكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ, and they don't expel you from your houses and homes. Allah does not stop you to do what? أَن تَبَرُّوهُمْ, that you can be good with them. وَتُقْسِطُوا إِلَيْهِمْ, and be fair and just with them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ. Indeed, Allah loves those people who establish justice, those who are concerned about justice. And the further verse which I recited, إِنَّمَا يَنْهَاكُمُ اللَّهُ, only and only Allah stops you, forbids you from establishing this wilayat from those people who are in war with you. Now what I'm trying to explain to you, that yes, a very basic human, based upon justice, based upon fairness, based upon that karamat al-insaniya which I spoke about, that broader principle which Quran established, لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. It does not say لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ, لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا الْأُمَّةَ الْإِسْلَامِيَّةَ. No, لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored whole children of Adam. That principle stays there. But yes, circle of that committed wilayat and relationship and friendship naturally is in a particular circle. Therefore, even toward non-Muslim, our relationship, what type of relationship it should be? What is the foundation, the theological and ideological or Quranic foundation toward our interaction with the Muslim, non-Muslims, or those people who are out of our circle is explained in the surah, and similarly in the practical life of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would like to draw your attention to that very important letter. I hope you will get some chance to look at that letter which Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib wrote to his governor in Egypt, Malik al-Ashtar. When he appointed him as a governor of Egypt, he wrote a letter. And in that letter, this is the letter which even Kofi Annan, the previous Secretary General of United Nations, recorded as a document for United Nations and asked from Arab leaders to look at this letter before ruling on the people in Arab world with their own criteria. In that letter, that's a very interesting letter, and therefore people like George Jardap, a Christian scholar and writer, after reading this letter and looking at Ali's style of governance, said that Ali, Sawtul Idalat al-Insaniya, that Ali is voice of human justice. In that letter, I would like to quote one thing to understand Islamic approach toward the people. This concept of wilayat which I tried to explain to you. This concept of kiramat of Bani Insan, which is the principal concept of Quran. Dignity of human race. You will understand. Imam writes to his governor Malik Ashtar that Malik, when you speak to the people, the masses who are under your control and you are governing on them, listen to me and look at them from this angle I am explaining to you. He said, فَالنَّاسُ صِنْفَانِ. There are two types of people. There are two types of people. أَخٌ لَكَ فِي الدِّينِ. They are either your brothers in religion, or نَذِيرٌ لَكَ فِي الْخَلْقِ, or they are your fellow human being and creation. This is the approach. أَخٌ لَكَ فِي الدِّينِ. They are either your brothers in faith and religion, or نَذِيرٌ لَكَ فِي الْخَلْقِ, or they are fellow in your creation and in your humanity. And therefore, really, when we look at history of Islam, we find these principles really flourishing. But at the same time, unfortunately, I cannot deny and I cannot ignore that from very early history of Islam, a great deviation also took place. And I would like to, and this xenophobic issue, very much connected to that. Now this is the background of Islamic teaching I'm trying to establish. This principle of karamat al-insaniya, I can give you examples after examples. There is a character by the name of Hatim al-Ta'i, who is known for his generosity, who is known for his kindness in Arab, who is legend in Arab for his human character. But he was not Muslim. His children became Muslim, but he was before Islam. But amazingly, when his children come to the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet stands up to show respect to the children, and they ask, Ya Rasulullah, why? He said, no, you are bringing a legacy of a man who was the most generous person of Arab. He shows this type of respect to a person who was not even Muslim toward the children by saying that you coming from this background of human kindness and human nature and human dignity and human character. So there is so much to talk about it. But unfortunately, let us accept and let's acknowledge the fact that we deviated and we created borders. While again Ali says very clearly in Nahj Balagha that insano adubbum ma yajhalo, that insan is enemy of what he does not know. This fear of a stranger comes out from the fear of unknown. We don't know who is this person. We don't know what he will do to us. He will take away our job. I don't understand sometimes how we can be xenophobic and prejudiced toward other people based upon sometimes financial reasons while we believe in Razzaqiyat of Allah. It's amazing, this contrast in our character. But as I said, I would like to draw your attention to one particular phenomenon in the early history of Islam, and that was known as very close to what is today xenophobic issue of our own society, the issue of mawali. Again the same word vilayat is there, mawali. After conquering land after land by Islamic leaders in the early history of Islam, naturally plenty of people came to Islam as prisoners of war, and they were regarded as mawali from Iran, from Sudan, from Ethiopia, from African side, even European side. Wherever Muslims went and they conquered the lands, and there were wars which took place, and these people came back into the capital of Islam, in the main Islamic land, and they were regarded as mawali. Right there, I'm sorry to say, unfortunately, xenophobic attitude started right there. Right there, we see the birth of a concept of Arab superiority is there. This concept, which was a pre-Islamic concept, which divided people based upon Arab and Ajam. This is also very interesting to look at how Islam and xenophobia comes along. The word Arab and Ajam, which is used basically in ahadith also, is a common terminology there. Arab literally means someone who can talk. Ajam means someone who is not capable of talking properly. This is itself a term with contempt, to degrade other people. Huh? Macquarie. Okay, right, exactly, our own term. They can't talk, they're not eloquent. But Prophet said, in the last khutbah, La fadla li Arabiyyin ala Ajami. There is no virtue for Arab on Ajam. But how practically, unfortunately, these mawalis were treated, not far after Prophet, very quick after Prophet, that is unfortunately another story. That how they were treated, these people, mawali, and whole section of society came, completely separate from other society, known as mawali. Those people who are children of slaves, descendants of those people who came as prisoners of war, and how they were treated. Amazing is that there are names in history of Islam for them, like Alluj, for example, they will call them. Or for example, they will say, we can marry your girl, because some of them were very beautiful in their features because they were coming from a different background, geographical background, so Europeans or Iranians or some others like that. But we will not give our daughters to you. for example. Even they were not allowed to perform janaza on the dead, for example. There was a particular city established or areas established for them, especially a city in Iraq by the name of Madain, for example, was a big center for them. And how these people then again revolted, and how these people started to fight back. There is, no, I don't want to go down in those details, but really the matter of, what we really learn from history, that this fear, when we forget those Quranic principles, those Quranic and Islamic value system, when basic aqidah, then naturally we end up in the situations like xenophobia. And as Imam Rashid Umar said, I will agree with him, really this issue is not dead and it is not gone, it is in our society very much present. Of course, Imam Rashid Umar and we in that conference dealt with it from the angle of more ethnic differences of people from other places who came to South Africa, and people felt that they are taking away our jobs or they're taking away our resources and so on, and that was the angle. But honestly, I think xenophobia has a very broad definition and circle. Whenever there is a new phenomenon, whenever there is something new and you don't agree or you think that you are threatened by that, the same xenophobic attitude appears. The same xenophobic attitude comes up. What our brother Imam Rashid Umar and your mosque, for example, also faces, I don't think this is also exception from xenophobic. Or what we for example face in our communities from, unfortunately, a very big number of mainstream society, unfortunately. I don't think that's also out of xenophobic attitude. Because it's a fear of other. And I don't understand that when you are confident of what you are, then why you have to be afraid of other people. You are only afraid of other people when you don't have confidence in yourself. When you believe in what you believe in, when you are confident of what you are, then who can threaten you? And who can challenge you? And who can change you? And who can take away anything from you? If you believe that al-izzatu lillah wa li rasulih wa lil mu'minin, if you believe that ar-raziqu huwa Allah, then who can take away your food? Who can take away your bread? Now, therefore, indeed, I think religious leaders' role and religious institutions' role in bringing these issues and addressing these issues is very, very crucial. I'm sorry, I think I have taken more than the time I was supposed to take. Shukran for once again affording this opportunity. Shukran and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.